Careful scrutiny of how the left operates reveals a hierarchy. There is a small cadre of elite leftist leaders who know the true nature of the evil they perpetrate. How's it going, folks? Hope everybody's doing well. Got a couple articles I'd like to share with y'all tonight. This first article comes from the American Thinker, titled Marching to the Leftist Drummer. Hope you enjoy. This leadership is utterly self-serving and utterly cynical. This is where you find the true psychopaths, racial eugenicists, etc. Examples include Vladimir Lenin, Heinrich Himmler, and who can forget George Soros. They have a Praetorian guard of similar elites, true believers in the causes trundled out for consumption by the leadership. These are intelligent, motivated, and charismatic champions of causes like environmentalism, multiculturalism, Malthusianism, etc. These are the people who cannot psychologically afford to accept that they might be serving an untrue belief system. So they will readily and casually reveal their inconsistencies to others without being able to see them in themselves. And finally, we have the foot soldiers. These are the ones who march to the tune of whichever drummer promises the brightest utopia for the least amount of personal effort and investment. It is these who have been cultivated to be emotionally infantile adults incapable of critical thought. It is these who hold simplistic worldviews and decide with their emotions instead of their intellect. They lock step in belief in the caricature of their enemies that has been painted for them by their leadership. But their relative proximity to actual circumstances at ground level cause them to see through the ruse occasionally. These foot soldiers are perpetually subdivided into smaller and smaller special interest groups. They are not especially evil. Their chief problem is unquestioning loyalty to the leftist leadership. It is these foot soldiers who you frequently see acting out. They do this when they don't get the promised prize at the bottom of their Cracker Jack box. When encountered on the internet, these are the ones who come across as non-player characters or NPCs. It isn't just that their social programming deprives them of the capacity for critical thought. It is that they are actively discouraged from thinking for themselves and questioning the narrative. These foot soldiers can be seen, when certain circumstances are present, as victims of lifelong propagandization by academia, the state, and the DMIC. They can be reached, one at a time, through gentle efforts. The mid-level leftists are varying degrees of complicit in the evil schemes of the elite. These are for the most part intelligent people who have been partially propagandized and partially imbued with the religious faith and the tenets of the left. They too can be reached, but they require a far more clever approach with a far lower rate of success. They will be psychologically driven to resist your efforts because, as Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. Speaking of the washed brains of the socialist utopian-seeking left, our next article is titled Ideas of Socialism Transcend Time. Links to these articles will be in the description box. Please enjoy. On November 2018, we learned that there are two different Americas. They are not black and white. They are not rich and poor. They are the ones that have failed to learn from history, convinced that socialism is too extreme to the American psyche to merit serious attention, and the other that clandestinely believes that socialism, in fact, has already arrived and is making sure that America can no longer live without it. The collapse of the Soviet Union in December 1991 and the subsequent dissolution of the so-called socialist camp did not result in the demise of Marxist ideology. In fact, Marxism exhibited remarkable endurance, successfully adapted to a new reality and relocated to the United States, where it acquired a new life within the Democratic Party. In 2008, this virus culminated in the election of the Marxist socialist Barack Obama, whose principal achievement was the successful transformation of the Democratic Party into the de facto Socialist Democratic Party. For those who are not familiar with this terminology, social democracy is a political ideology that has as its goal the establishment of socialism through implementation of a policy regime that includes, but is not limited to, high taxation, government regulation of private enterprises, and establishment of a universal welfare state. The elections are a clear warning to America that Karl Marx's vision, democracy is the road to socialism, is poised to be fulfilled. The Democrats have dropped all liberal and progressive pretenses. They run on pro-Marxist ideology, denouncing capitalism, and promising miraculous fulfillment of egalitarian dreams, and for the most part score significant victories. Even in the states which the Republicans won, they won with razor-thin margins. In Texas, Florida, Arizona, Mississippi, Nevada, and even California's Orange County, which have been the bastions of capitalism and free enterprise, the socialists have taken over or come way too close for comfort. The Republican Party also lost the House, although under Paul Ryan's leadership, it was Republican in name only. In the absence of an ideological counterweight, the Democratic Party over the last few decades has built a huge army of supporters and a diversified arsenal of election weaponry. The millions of Americans who depend on the government in one way or another are the Democrats' army. Today, 22 million Americans, 14% of the labor force, are employed by the government at the federal, state, or local levels. Moreover, about 50% of Americans do not pay income tax, and millions receive welfare checks, food stamps, and other forms of government assistance. The slogan of the Boston Tea Party, "No taxation without representation," is being replaced with "representation without taxation." Those strategic advantages are augmented by the most destructive weapon in the Democratic Party's arsenal: illegal voting. In the regions where socialism has not yet attained political meaning, and the concept of economic equality still has little reference to the American voters, the Democrats are offering suffrage to foreigners. The people of California have already subordinated their voting rights to the millions of immigrants crossing their open borders. Recently, California began automatically registering illegal aliens to vote when they obtain or renew a driver's license. In Texas, Arizona, and Florida, the Democrats organized massive voter registration drives to register illegal aliens to vote and devised ballot harvesting, which in reality is a voter manufacturing technique that is designed to keep the ballots coming until the results flip. In the process, the Democrats gave a new meaning to every vote to be counted and invented a new definition of democracy. It is no longer voting, it's counting. If a consensus on the legitimacy of American elections breaks down, the very legitimacy of our democracy would be questioned. As John Adams put it, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to a government of any other. Those other have been exploiting the inadequacy of our Constitution with no sense of legal or moral restraint in the effort to bring this country in conformity with the socialist principles. For those who didn't learn much in school or suffer some sort of historical amnesia and voted for socialism, here's a sober reminder. Just like all of the democracies preceding ours, this one isn't immune to self-destruction. To prevent what would otherwise be inevitable, reason must confront falsehoods with the superior principles of religion, free enterprise, and individual liberty. We must stop hiding behind the empty assertion that we are lovers of freedom and take a stand. We have to reject the democratic rubbish and recognize the obvious people. This country that has twice elected a black president cannot be racist. Attacks on the Second Amendment are indeed attempts to disarm the law-abiding citizens. The political system responsible for millions of deaths cannot be superior. The capitalist economic system, which is based on individual liberty, cannot be immoral. No borders means no sovereignty. And most importantly, pay attention to this, please. Economic equality can only occur in poverty. Should the challenges exceed the level of our endurance, and the conversion to a new reality is allowed to materialize, America's future will look like the Soviet past, and we will become the unfortunate generation, dying bankrupt and telling our children and grandchildren, work hard and pay forever for our failure to stop the utopian dream. Alrighty folks, that's about it for that one. Hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please leave $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. And until next time.
No. Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.
No wall, no USA at all. No Trump, 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 no wall, no USA at all.
For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. Americans want great schools for their children, safe neighborhoods for their families, and good jobs for themselves. These are just and reasonable demands of righteous people and a righteous public. But for too many of our citizens, a different reality exists. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities. Rusted out factories scattered like tombstones across the landscape of our nation. An education system flush with cash, but which leaves our young and beautiful students deprived of all knowledge. And the crime, and the gangs, and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. There should be no fear. We are protected, and we will always be protected. We will be protected by the great men and women of our military and law enforcement. And most importantly, we will be protected by God. That whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.